I guess we'll kick things off by, first off, why don't you just give us like a high level of your background, and then I'll dive a bit deeper.
Sure, yeah. Nice to see everybody. So Sean Riley, Chief Executive Dude at Dude Wipes, and day one employee and out of the apartment guy. So me and my buddies founded the company about 12 years ago here in Chicago. And yeah, much like yourselves, we just were getting started, not knowing how to get a business going, but we had a fun idea in Dude Wipes, which was going to be, a brand that talked to people differently than other brands, more authentically, like, guys would talk sitting on their couch, and that we were going to sell something better than toilet paper, which are these flushable wet dude wipes that you could use in the bathroom. And we were just guys using baby wipes, with an idea, wanting to build a brand. So yeah, no one was calling me a legend 12 years ago, but I guess some people are now, because we've done pretty well for ourselves and kind of grown the company. And last year we did over $200 million in sales through different retailers here in the U.S. Mm-hmm. So just been building it brick by brick all along the way.
I love it. Yeah. So with that being said, I think that this is how I think the convo should go. First, we'll go more into the early life, and then we'll go a little bit later and then talk about these things that are the subtopics for today, like the marketing and capital raising.
Right.
So earlier life, where did you go to college? Did you grow up here? Were you always entrepreneurial, et cetera?
Yeah, I grew up in Orland Park, so on the south suburbs, and then I went to Illinois State in Central Illinois.
What years?
03 to 08.
Oh, I just missed you over there.
4.5 years there.
Okay.
So I did construction management there, and then kind of got into like some sales, construction management stuff in the city after college. And that was why I got into sales. I wanted to do something entrepreneurial, so sales felt like the closest thing. Like you're kind of eating what you kill a little bit. But very quickly, I just didn't feel like I, could really work in the 9-to-5 world. And so that's when I started trying to brainstorm these different ideas on, nights and weekends. So I think we launched Dude Wipes probably like 4 years after I got out of college, but we started tinkering around with them like in those years right after college, when you got, an apartment and a job and you're
all those things. Yeah.
Yeah.
When did the Shark Tank come into this whole scene?
We got into Shark Tank about 2.5 years after we launched the product.
2.5 years. How was the progress in that 2.5 years?
It was good from my perspective, but slow maybe from outside people's perspectives in terms of like venture capital or anything like that. They weren't too impressed. Mm-hmm. But our first full year in business, we did $100,000 in sales. And so that felt huge, right? Like you just had these dude wipes in your spare bedroom and you didn't know how you were going to get rid of them and all of that. Yeah. And now people are buying them. And so like that was a big deal, right? Like, wow, still not enough to fund a company. And, we're all bootstrapped. So it was just me and my buddies $30,000 to buy the wipes. That's what the company was founded on. No investors or anything like that.
Yeah.
And then got into an incubator, actually.
Which?
It's called SKU.
Okay, I don't think I've heard of it.
They specialize in like products, so it's out of Austin, and they have them in a few other cities now. But so they bring 5 brands down per year, and you do like a 3-month sort of incubator deal. You learn about the products industry, marketing, distribution. It's the incubator's founded by people who have like grown, food brands mostly. So that was not even, a year into the business. So that was kind of like exciting. Hey, there's some traction here. The point of an incubator at the end is you pitch.
Yeah.
Right. So there's these pitch days at the end of incubators where the 5 companies who have been in the incubator for 3 months now all showcase at this big pitch day, and there's all these investors there. Mm-hmm. We were excited about that, but we walked away with nothing.
What were the terms, if you don't mind me asking, when you joined this incubator?
The incubator?
Yeah, so incubator is more like education. There's a 12-week program typically. Accelerator is a little bit different. It's a 3-month program. They give you cash, but they have some sort of equity, typically anywhere from 4 to 7%. Did they do? Was it more accelerator or incubator? Did they actually hand you cash to invest in your
Yes,
company?
they handed us cash for like 5%.
5% of the company.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're very happy right now.
Yeah, for sure.
You're the biggest success story out of there, I'm sure. One of the biggest success
One
stories.
of them, yeah. Yes, Siete Foods is another one that came out of the same incubator.
Okay.
So yeah, they make a small bet and then run you through the program.
But nothing came out of it from the pitches.
Yeah, nothing came out of it from the pitches or the investments. So maybe if if I'm talking to you guys as me back then, I thought I needed that money from that pitch day to be successful. Wow, we're just starting to make it. We're making, $100,000. How can we get this thing off the ground? If I can do a deal and get $500,000 into the company, and a partner and all that, I can really, have some stability and figure this thing out. But it ended up being a blessing that nobody gave us anything.
Because
then we spent the next 2 years just bootstrapping, growing.
So let's talk about why what you just said is super important. Explain to them why those 2 years of bootstrapping and growing is going to help you long term, and it's a blessing that you didn't actually get an investment that day.
Yeah, for sure. So just my situation, right? Different businesses need money or have different situations, but my situation was that it was growing, people were buying it. If we were patient, we could just keep growing it with our own cash flow. And then you kind of learn what's the bootstrapper's mentality, which is money is not going to solve the problem. The next creative solution is going to solve it. The next sale is going to solve it. We learned some viral marketing stuff where, we were doing different things on social media and getting press kind of for free. And so everything was how do we make $1 out of a dime, mindset. And to grow up with that mindset is kind of powerful because now, we'll talk about Shark Tank, but we still don't have a big investment, company behind us or anything. But we have a lot of cash coming to the business. So now we could piss away cash. If we wanted to on different things, and obviously we spend appropriately, but everything goes back to the mindset that you developed early on. How can we win more with less? And at the end of the day, all of your big competition isn't going to be thinking like that. They're going to be thinking in a resources first sort of mindset. The bootstrappers grow up with the resourcefulness first mindset.
So let me add to that and tell me if I am off or I'm on. So yes, the resources topic, but also just from a point of dilution versus not.
Right.
Now, if you don't raise capital back then and you're growing the company and you didn't take outside capital and you're using all of your sweat equity, and you're growing and the top line of your revenue keeps increasing as time goes on, what happens is the valuation of your company keeps increasing. So if the investors got in back then, they would have a really sweet deal. But if you waited out for those 2 years and put the blood, sweat, and tears in, and you go from, I'm just making these numbers up, but $500K at that time all the way up to 4.5 million, now the valuation is off of the 4.5 million multiple. So the dilution that could have happened back then didn't. And now they're retaining more equity in the long run.
Yeah.
Which is another add-on to the resourcefulness. Those are the top two things I would say.
Yeah, obviously the longer you wait to sell equity, the larger your company is. And, the bigger portion you're going to get.
But I feel like it's a good point, though, is a lot of entrepreneurs, they feel like they have to raise capital in order to be successful.
Yes.
I would say bullshit. Would you?
Definitely bullshit. But I definitely felt it at the same time.
Because it's real at the time.
Yeah, it's real, and probably getting all of the no's made me just concentrate on the business and not on the investors.
Right.
And then doing that for almost 2 years, and then we got, breakout moment on Shark Tank sort of deal.
Yeah.
In front of, the big sharks and the investors there and everything like that. So it made us just focus on the business and on the sales.
Right.
Instead of talking to people and pitching people and stuff, talking to customers, selling products, talking to retailers, all those sort of things.
Yeah, I mean, raising capital in general, I'm sure we'll get to this later, but it's distracting. It's literally taking you away from building your business most of the time. And it's like a roadshow that just never ends. It's a vicious cycle. So people founders being able to concentrate on like what they should be doing, which is talking to customers, building product, building something people want, providing extra value, ongoing, consistently, is exactly what they should be doing. But sometimes it's a necessity to raise that capital. Speaking of which, a good segue, Shark Tank. Yeah. Talk to me about how the opportunity went down. How long is the actual pitch compared to how many minutes it actually aired? And any more insights you can give us for that experience?
Yeah. I mean, starting a company, it was like, well, you just wanted to get on Shark Tank, or at least that was me. So like we applied 1 year, we didn't make it all the way through. We applied the next year, we made it a little bit farther. Then the third year we apply, we make it all the way to the finals. Hey, come out to LA, you're shooting, like you made the show. So it's pretty rigorous to actually get to that point.
Yeah.
And we were having a good year in terms of like we were on track to do our first $1 million in a year. And we had gotten into like one retailer and started scaling on Amazon. So like the business was growing. So it was kind of the right time to be on Shark Tank. And we're out there for an hour, so it's a longer pitch than you see on TV, but they cut it down to like 10, 12-minute segments.
Okay.
But yeah, it's pretty real to like what you see on TV. There's a lot of, they're all yelling at you at the same time. So it's a little more chaotic than they cut it up, and you're answering all these questions. They don't know anything about you until you step out there. Yeah. They don't have a pre-read or anything like that. And we had always kind of I had always envisioned, oh, we're going to do a deal with Mark Cuban. Like, he's the dude, he'll get this.
He's the dude.
That's our guy, and like, so that's what I was like visualizing. And then we get up there, we're going back and forth, and then Mark goes out.
Okay.
It's like, I'm not a wipes guy, and I don't know if I'll use them in the way you guys are talking about it. I think you guys are onto something, but for that reason, I'm out. So like, right there in real time, like, oh,
your heart just
right. Like,
everyone's seen it on national TV too.
yeah. But we got two guys in front of us who are interested in Robert Herjavec and Mr. Wonderful, and they're kind of negotiating. They're willing to do a deal and all this stuff. So just kind of immediately you're forgetting about this thing you were trying to like attract and make happen, and you're just now focused on doing a deal with these other guys, and we're negotiating with them. They're pushing. We went in with a $3 million valuation. Now it's at 1.5 million, and they're trying to push it even lower. And we're kind of like, nope, it's the lowest we're going. Like, we're going to make $1 million this year. We're not going lower than 1.5 on the valuation. Yeah. And it was, we were about to walk out. And then Cuban stands back up and he says, I'll do the deal at the 1.5, what you guys were asking for, and just swoops the deal right underneath them. We go and shake his hand and leave them in the dust.
What was the 1.5
out there?
What was the 1.5 for?
20%.
20%.
Yeah.
Okay. And what were we going to use the capital for?
A lot of it was inventory.
Okay.
So we were still at the point. Now, we could have got by without the capital.
Yeah, but it's helpful.
It's helpful. Capital is helpful. Obviously, a partner.
Yeah.
Never had a partner before, or someone who knows what they're doing in business and never been working with us before. So there was all of the attractiveness of that.
Yeah.
And I will say, at least in the products world, like until you book like $1 million with the IRS, it's hard to get banks to loan you like real money.
Sure.
And so we're trying to buy more inventory to sell into Kroger, which we just got into, and like the cash flow is tight.
Right.
Like, and the banks wouldn't load us money yet. So most of the cash just went into buying more inventory.
Yeah.
And then as we rolled into the next year, we were now like a multi-million-dollar company.
Yep.
We could have lines of credit from the bank to buy inventory.
They like you now.
They like us now.
It's a different story now.
They'll work with us now.
Yeah.
And so then that starts our funding phase with banks to keep growing, after bringing on a seed partner and Mark kind of 3 years into the business.
For Mark Cuban, how many times do you have advisory calls with him throughout the year?
Mark Cuban doesn't really do phone calls.
Okay. Emails only.
Emails only.
Okay.
So every once in a while there'll be like a Zoom, but like that's like
seldom.
Seldom, yeah.
Yeah, but any pressing questions, you just ask him. He'll respond within a couple hours.
Couple minutes.
Yeah, a couple minutes.
Yeah, he's really on the responses on the emails, and especially the companies that are doing well.
Yeah.
He enjoys working with.
For sure.
Like, so yeah, over the years, when you're going from 5 million to 10 million to 50 million to 100 million to 200 million, like Mark has seen all of these things happen.
sure.
So, we've been pinging them back and forth for over 10 years now. Like,
Right.
hey, we're looking at this situation. Like,
Right.
what do you think? You got any connections here? So great sounding board
Sure.
as an investor and
Sure.
also like a celebrity kind of deal.
Sure.
So he like promotes the brand. But at the same time, Mark Cuban doesn't know what the hell's going on in the day-to-day
Oh,
of Dude
of
Wipes.
course.
Or care.
Yeah.
So like an investor will never come in and like tell you how to fix this exact problem or make this product work, but they will give you things where you're so close to it. Oh yeah, I wasn't thinking that way. Oh, that's a good point. So like, think of them as like that broad stroke mentorship. And they know this as investors. You as an entrepreneur are either going to make this product work for the customer or not. They know they can't fix you.
Yeah.
And you have to know that they can't fix you either.
Right.
That they can only be there as a mentor,
Right.
a guy.
I mean, usually they say like no one knows the business more than you.
Exactly.
Like not anyone in the world. And
Yep.
if they didn't think that, they wouldn't invest in you.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have that domain expertise and the
For
belief
sure.
in the other
Absolutely.
person. Side note, I just have a random question. What do you think was the best feeling? 100K top line, 1 million, 10 million, or 100 million?
Yeah.
What was that literally? What pulled the heartstrings the most?
Right. The first million is the hardest. I think that's one thing that I do subscribe to.
Okay.
And so that felt like a really big milestone for
Okay.
us to like make that first million, because it's a lot of grinding to get there. And before it, you don't know if you have something sustainable. Like you feel like you have something that may collapse at any point,
Sure.
Like when you go from 50 to 100 million, like it's cool, right? Like to hit that 100, but you're no longer is this thing going to make it?
Yeah. It's not
kind of
questioning
mindset.
it anymore. It's
Yeah.
like you have systems and processes, you have momentum.
Right.
It's just like your goals.
It's
And-
just
and
your
you're gonna
goals.
hit
And
it.
it's cool to hit those
Right.
goals, but it's not quite as like, oh shit, like this thing might work.
Right. Yeah.
And that's kind of how that like million is.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I guess this is kind of a related question, but not exactly the same, is product market fit. It's, to some extent, it's an ambiguous term by a lot of people. They think it's a lot of different things. From my understanding and my point of view, it's more of that flywheel effect where you know that you have something at that point, that moment, whatever that is, and you know that it's going in the right direction. Like all the things are on fire, but in a good way. Customer service, they can't keep up. You can't fund the inventory for the next 4 or 5 big box retailers that you signed up. All of these things are happening in the right direction. When was that moment for you? Can you clarify? And if it wasn't an exact moment, maybe like a time frame, like that month of July of 2000, whatever.
It felt like I had like
it was it. Like you're good. You're golden. You're gonna make it to 200 million at some point.
Right.
When was that moment where that turning point potentially was?
I think we had confidence in product market fit like out the get-go, even though we didn't have the sales to show it, because everybody was kind of like loving the brand.
Yeah.
We would hand out samples at music festivals or something, and this is so fun. I'm going to use this.
I couldn't tell you go to
porta
music
potty.
festivals, by the way.
Yeah.
Just by looking at you, I didn't think that. Anyway, keep going.
And so, we got like really high on all of those reactions from people. And like that kept us pushing through and like, hey, we're onto something. We know it. We use this product ourselves. I think that's important. Like if you are developing something that you're using and you're enjoying, there will be other people out there. And so just keep finding them. But we did start having some moments on Amazon where like purchase orders just kept growing every month, and that was probably like 2 years into the business, like a little bit before Shark Tank, where it was like, more people are buying these every month.
You're seeing it.
There's something sustainable happening. Sales are never moving down. And so I always tell people, like, if you're doubling your company each year, and it doesn't matter if it goes from 100 grand to 200 grand, to 400 grand to 800 grand, like that's product market fit
for
at
sure.
the end of the day. Like that's.
I think as long as you're
growth.
doing it for a certain amount of time.
Right.
For instance, you can't be doing it for 3 months and be like, we have product market fit because we grew, whatever,
True.
double.
Yeah.
But if it's like
year over year, at least.
YOY, right? If it's hitting that, then you're onto something for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so I read an article and I was just laughing to myself reading this, the blogs that you guys do.
Yeah.
One of them was like about floating poop and other really funny random things of that nature.
Yeah.
How have you used comedy to excel your marketing strategy from a high growth company perspective?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, humor was like just built into the brand's
For sure.
DNA. Day one, we were like, you know, we're dudes, we're buddies, we're joking around. Like, this is what we want this brand to do.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of didn't realize how powerful that was until we started growing a little bit and we realized like we could say the word ass on our Instagram and Charmin refused to even say the word butt.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh shit, like we're on like different wavelengths
That's what I'm
than
saying.
these guys. And really started to appreciate doing what they can't do
Right.
and saying what they can't
That's your cheat
say.
code.
That's our cheat code. That's why we don't need the capital that they need or the budget that they need, because we can actually cut through the noise
Right.
and get to people. And humor is how we do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fact that like we can run around with some like, you know, humor that these other people can't, it just becomes a competitive advantage.
Yeah.
Keep doubling down on it, keep tweaking it.
Mm-hmm.
But as we grow, you know, you try and make sure you don't get too conservative and lose that magic. Because,
Yeah.
oh, now we're this big company and I don't want Walmart to yell at me about an
Right.
Instagram post or some shit like that.
Yep.
Like, no, that will end up starting to be like the beginning of the end,
Right.
the erosion of your moat. Your moat is like your uniqueness.
And that's when you stop becoming a startup. That's when you stop staying a startup, is
Right.
when that happens. Bureaucracy, red tape, you know,
Yeah.
watching what you have to say, et cetera.
Yeah.
Like that's when it stops. So as long as you have that mentality, I feel like you could always treat it like a true startup and keep building and building with that 100, 200% month over, or year over year growth.
Yeah, for sure.
So staying on the subject of marketing, because we kind of mentioned that briefly, what are some things that have changed, you know, from year like, let's say 2 or 3 to year 6 or 7? I'm guessing that digital just skyrocketed for you, like spending wise.
Yeah.
But can you like actually talk about some insights on where you moved money into marketing and how it was just different in the beginning versus later on in the growth?
Yeah. Definitely in the beginning, we sort of started realizing a lot of our marketing dollars had to be like performance based and like return.
Yeah.
Which meant like an Amazon ad or a Google ad, like really just that money had to have a return on ad spend,
Sure.
you know, to come into the business because we were bootstrapped, and that to build the brand and have fun and all of that, we needed to find ways to do it on the cheap.
Yeah.
So that's how it worked a lot in the beginning. And then as we started to grow and get more capital and profit, we realized we needed to continue to have the bootstrapping mindset, but then invest money on like really fun, loud things
Yeah.
like billboards or like UFC fights,
Mm-hmm.
like things that aren't performance marketing, aren't showing a direct
more like
return.
awareness.
Yeah, building the awareness, building the brand. And so now things have like pendulum that way, where it's like we're still spending money on performance, but it's a smaller portion, and then we're spending more money on that like emotional stuff,
Sure.
and building the brand and having fun with people.
Yeah, and I
We
just
just
feel,
couldn't afford to do that in the beginning,
Right.
Because we needed to move units and return sales,
Right.
but we still did it, you know, just without a lot of money.
Right.
And so that's our secret sauce right now. We got money we can pump into marketing, but then we're on every day on organic social. We're doing things that still cost $0 on the daily.
Right.
And
like the
we're-
blogs that I see.
And the blog, yeah. Like we're doing all these things that cost zero money on the daily to build the brand, and now we're spending money.
Right.
with-
Because you can.
Because we can.
Because now, like later on, as time goes on and the more money you make and the more successful you become, you can take bigger portions of the spend in order to have like riskier marketing spend, because maybe the ROI doesn't come the next day, or maybe you don't even see it, but
Right.
you know that it has some sort of impact that's unmeasurable.
Yeah.
But you can't do that in the early stages because everything's just so tight.
Totally.
And you have to like see that ROI in order to make sense of it. If I spend 200 bucks on Google Ads or whatever, I need to make 1,000 or something
Right.
like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and talk to me about a dark time that you almost lost the business, or you seen like a downfall and something was happening that was not great. And it could be like from a cultural thing, it could be from a hiring HR point of view.
Yeah.
It could be from a product or capital, anything.
Yeah, for sure. I think like the first time you get hit with a lawsuit is
Yeah.
always like, oh shit, is this like these guys gonna take me down? You know. So we had one of those about like a claim on a packaging where the lawyers, you know, were claiming that it was false advertising, and they're starting to throw out these numbers that you're going to owe them and fines and, this money you don't have and everything like that. So, we had one of those happen probably a little bit after Shark Tank or something. It was just like the first time you go through it, you have like those moments where like, it's a lot of anxiety around it, but then you kind of start going through it. You realize it's a negotiation. These guys just want to get paid, and that there is a meeting ground and you can get it all done. And then when they start happening in the future, you've gone through them before. So unfortunately, at least in my world, but I think most, like these frivolous lawsuits just become part of the game and just something you handle as you go along. But the first time,
scary.
You get one, it's scary for sure.
Yeah, but it also indicates you're about to build something big.
Yeah,
That's
it
like
indicates you're making enough sales
where somebody wants to take your money for some reason.
Yeah, right.
I want your money.
No
Let me figure out a reason why.
No lawyers are going to bother you when you're doing $100,000 out of the apartment.
Right.
It's not worth their time.
Right.
They know you're broke,
Right.
But you've been on Shark Tank and you're with Mark Cuban and you're doing a couple million. It's like,
let's poke at him.
Yeah, let's poke at him. So, yeah.
All right. So if that's literally the only dark time, I don't even know what to say, because I feel like if you're building a $200 million business, there should be way more dark times than getting a lawsuit smacked on after Shark Tank. You don't have any other downsides like to building the business or times where you were very worried and concerned besides that lawsuit?
You know what? I always just kind of look at it as like there's going to be problems in this business. I enjoy what I'm doing and I'm going to keep building it. And like I don't really try and let those things get me down too much when things happen. And I think that's like part of the journey of being an entrepreneur. Like there's going to be ups and you can't get too high on them. And there's going to be downs and you can't get too low on them.
Yeah.
Because then you're going to be fucked.
Yeah, that's a good saying.
An emotional like roller coaster through the journey. And so the more you can just kind of like certain things are going to suck, sure. But like I really tried not to let myself get into a headspace like that. Because my thing was always too, like, well, if something happens and it goes under, like, that's just, I tried my best, left it all on the floor, especially in the early days. Like, hey, I'm just going to, like, try to make it happen. And if it doesn't, that's okay, And so that was the outlook of the first couple of years. Even if it went bankrupt, like, I'm out here trying, and that's all I care about. And now that it's bigger and it would be harder to tank or whatever, the way I look at it is, like, as long as I'm still having fun with it, I'll stay here. But if I'm not, I can hire a new CEO. Dude Wipes will go on. This whole thing can build. So now my main thing is just fun and the enjoyment of what I'm doing.
Okay. And
that's my non-negotiable. As soon as that deteriorates to some level that's affecting my quality of life, like I'll just bounce and do something else,
Let's move the convo just a little bit to capital raising. I know we already talked about Shark Tank, but what about anything else post that? What did you guys raise? How many rounds? Was it institutional? What are the amounts? If you don't mind sharing any sort of metrics.
Yeah. We've done nothing since 2015 with Mark Cuban.
Nothing but that.
Nothing but that.
Even angel investments?
Nope.
Wow. That's crazy. So you're retaining, like, I forgot what the percentage you said, but I think you said 20%?
Yeah.
For Mark? So you guys, the company has 80% holdings, so I'm guessing early employees or whatever have majority of it, and that's it?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, so we got a cap table that's like
clean as shit.
Clean as shit. Yeah. Just a couple dudes and Mark Cuban.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
When he says that, like when people say they have a messy cap table, that means that there's like a lot of complications. There's too many investors, and you look at it and there's like, oh my God, it's overwhelming. Like you have to actually do hard math in order to figure out everything. There's just very easy math. There's like a couple line items, and you're done with it within.
Preferred stock.
There's not only one.
Common stockholders.
The pro rata rights.
What's that?
Does he have pro rata rights at least?
What do you mean by that?
Is he able to invest in multiple rounds if it happened? If he did? Yeah, he does have it. Okay, cool. And
then I will say about that, some of Mark's advice. Okay, we're making a couple million. We do a deal with Mark. Now we're making like 10 million. A year or two later, and now the VCs are calling.
Yeah.
All the people who never wanted to pick up my phone call.
The people that passed on you? Yeah, we're calling you back now.
And so we're like, Mark, like these guys are willing to like put in some real money here and like value the company appropriately. And Mark is pro entrepreneur at the end of the day. Like, he's gonna do what you decide to do.
Yeah.
You know, but he's like, if I were you and you didn't need the cash right now and you're growing, he's like, why?
Yep.
So, you know, Mark was big, and we were like, well, maybe they have these expertise. He's like, go hire a consultant for $100,000.
Go to Intro for $2,000 and get an expert for 2 hours.
Yeah. And so we started bouncing around and like spending money with consultants who would deliver the same quality of information maybe a VC would, instead of selling to VC. And then like we really started growing. And so Mark was very big on like, listen, if you guys want to do it, sure, but if you don't need the money to grow, there's not some mechanism in your business that needs this cash, why would you do it? And once he kind of posed the question like that, we were like, all right, guess we'll hold. And so
let me ask you a caveat question.
Mindset.
Let me ask you a caveat type of question. I'm obviously not as smart as Mark Cuban, but let me ask you anyway.
Yeah.
What if though you did want to take on capital? Like, let's say that you were doing whatever 5-10 million at that time, and someone's offering you 15 to 20 million, and they think that they can offer their expertise, but the capital can make you grow at an accelerated rate.
Right.
Do you think that there's a world or a pathway that you didn't go down maybe to take on additional capital in order to grow faster? So instead of taking, how many years have you been doing it? 12?
Yeah.
Instead of taking 12 years to do 200 whatever million, it only took you 7. What do you think about me asking you that? What comes to your mind?
I think in this world, like, that capital would only go so far, and marketing, I think, would be the thing. Like, you could say you could use it in to speed up your growth, but the growth is unlocked by a lot of distribution that happens, and that you can't pay for that. You got to go pitch Walmart and win it, you know? And then you can use the bank to fund the inventory. So like, we have a pretty insane growth curve that at any chunk in time, if you said, we'll take 5 million of capital and put it in here, it might create 10 or something. Like, it's not going to move the needle versus like the dilution you're taking at that point in time.
Sure.
Like, there's not some, if there was some magic genie thing for $5 million that we saw out there to put into business, we would have probably done it. But we were just like, you could just piss that away on marketing. We weren't looking to buy like a wipes machine, or like, there wasn't a direct, wow, this can really change the game with that money. There was just some, we could be a little bit more aggressive, but I think the advice was patience over that.
No, I mean, I 100% agree, and I'm on your side with that.
It's a great question.
I was just asking because it's probably a tougher question that you probably don't get too often. People don't want to poke at that different route.
And I think if you're running a software company and maybe you need to hire 30 people that year, like, you may just be in a position like, I don't hire 30 people this year and raise $5 million, X company's going to come beat me, you know, to this idea. The product business isn't really like that. It's your cash is tied up in inventory, and it's unlocked through these major players that hold distribution, and so things just don't happen as quickly as they do in tech. So I like couldn't give the same advice for tech, but in the product world, I can say that advice is pretty sound.
So even though you raised capital, it's like you really didn't raise VC. I know Mark is a VC, but I feel like it's more like an angel. VCs are much more demanding. They need like board seats. They're breathing down your neck. They're making you hit KPIs. They're making you raise subsequent rounds because they need a $4 or $5 billion outcome. He didn't do any of that, it sounds like. He's just like letting you chill and make your own decisions. So to me, even though you raised capital from him on Shark Tank, you have been bootstrapped for the most part. Like, it sounds like it's a bootstrap company. You guys are reinvesting the profits to grow faster. You only took a little bit of Mark's money, and that's pretty much it. And you don't plan on raising any money after that. That's very rare. That's not common. Usually when you take like outside capital, you have to keep raising outside capital. So
Mark is like an angel in terms of like, he doesn't have a timeline he needs to be out on. So he's been with us for 10 years now, and he hasn't made 1 red cent off of Dude Wipes in cash. Obviously his value is, I think, like 300 times, you know, what he put in. But he's just kind of like, at some point, obviously, if we sell the company or something like that, like Mark will make a bunch of money. Or if we started paying out dividends, Mark would make a bunch of money, but we're just reinvesting right now. And being with someone like Mark, he doesn't need the money. So that's a good position.
Yeah, that's another good thing.
So he doesn't really care. He's
Yeah.
like, he's in it for the sport.
Yeah.
But like being with a VC,
They want
their
it.
sport is going to be liquidity
For sure.
and growth
Yeah.
and on certain time increments, which is fine. You just got to know what you're signing up for. Mark's not playing that game. He's playing a different one, you know.
I feel like what you just said was really powerful because that was the whole point of today. Is like what he just said is like wrapped it up and just encompassed everything that we've been talking about. Just know what you're getting into before you actually take that dive, whether it's this or that way.
Right.
Bootstrap versus raising funds.
Yeah.
What is the goal in like 5 to 7 years? Like, what do you want to do exactly? Do you want to like sell Dude Wipes to Walmart in 2032? Like, what's the goal?
Yeah. I mean, we definitely want to keep growing it the way we are, you know, so focusing on the process, focus what got us here. I know there's going to be big companies out there at some point who then want to come acquire the brand and all of those things. And like, of course, we will take a look at those opportunities as they happen. Like we owe it to ourselves and like, you know, Cuban at some point and all of those things. But I've always found just like having a game plan of how you're going to grow is the best, and letting those other things develop from the outside and just like allowing them to happen. So that's the strategy. So like I have a 5 to 10 year plan about how to just keep growing the same way we're growing. And if someone wants to interrupt that plan with a shitload of money and like they could be a good partner or it could be the right thing for the customer to sell it to Charmin or Procter & Gamble and we can lower prices and scale globally. Like, of course, those are things we'll look at.
All right, so you're going to keep your head down building still in year 12, 13.
Yep.
And just see if anything happens at any point.
Yeah.
But you could be doing this 15 years from now?
Yeah, for sure.
Wow. That's a long time.
As long as I'm enjoying the process, like I said before. Like that's the North Star. I'm enjoying the process. Great. Stay in the process.
What do you think would be the opposite? What would happen that you wouldn't be enjoying this process anymore since you've enjoyed it so much until now? Like, what can happen that you wouldn't enjoy it?
Culture at the end of the day.
But you're the one that directs that.
I direct it, but culture
shifts
is
within
its
itself.
own thing, right? And so we try and maintain the culture, try and like have all of these things, you know, work the way they do, and we're doing a good job, and that's why we're having fun. But at some point, you know, if things get toxic or nasty or the culture at your company sucks, then you won't want to work there anymore. So I think that's your watch out. And then I guess there's scenarios where it's like, hey, it's time for another owner who knows how to go from 500 million to 2 billion. And it's just like, hey, it's time for me to say this leg of growth might be better left in someone else's hands. Of course, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm going to always believe I can figure it out, but I will always set aside my ego too. If something came in where it's like, no, this feels right. This feels like a good time to hand off the baton. Even if I'm still having fun, you still have to look at some of those, you know, real life situations.
Do you ever have imposter syndrome, even like growing from 10 to 50 to $100 million? Is there any some days where you're like, wow, I don't know if I should be in this seat right now?
I wouldn't say that. No, I don't feel like that because you've just been doing it so long. You're like, how the hell can anybody else be in this seat, you know? I mean, because you've seen all of these things. But I do think you have moments where you're just like, this product just got into Walmart. Like, is anybody going to buy it? You know what I mean? Where like
you question yourself.
You're questioning yourself. You're questioning what the product can do because you haven't seen it hit these different milestones. So you're going to have those questions, but at the end of the day, this is like a self-belief game that everyone in this room is in. There's a bunch of business shit and like all this other stuff we can talk about, but if you don't have self-belief and conviction in what you're doing, you just will never make it.
That's like step one. Step one, believe in yourself.
Exactly. And so having imposter syndrome or these moments are cool.
Moments,
But as soon as it's like a thing, then like you're screwed.
You're screwed.
You know, you just have to be, okay, acknowledge that thought, but I'm back to my game. I know what I'm doing. I'll figure out the next thing.
When you hire these people, by the way, do you have Any sort of insights with recruitment or leadership that you can share, especially like growing the organization, like as it gets bigger?
Yeah.
Is there something that you've noticed or that you do internally? If you could share some.
Yeah.
tips.
I mean, the culture first when you're looking for people. So like the EQ over IQ, like, hey, all you guys are going to have your different idea of like how people should act in your company, and just making sure that's the most important thing. Oh, like this person feels like they'd fit the culture, fit the groove. Not, oh, this person, has so much better experience. But if you're feeling like they don't fit, go to the other person who feels like a perfect fit and can be more teachable and stuff. So it's like fit over everything.
Like this guy went to Harvard, but he doesn't really fit within our circles.
Right.
This guy went to ISU, but he fits really well in our circles.
Totally.
Get the ISU dude.
Yeah, exactly. So just be laser focused on that. The Netflix culture deck is like a really good one if you ever want to look that up, where like they define their culture in like a deck.
Never seen it.
I
gotta check it out.
It's legendary. And so we did something of our own that now when we're onboarding people, it's like a 30-page culture deck that's just like, this is the way we act here. This is the way we treat
And what do they have to
people.
do? Would they have to go through it and then sign off, or what do they have to do? Just watch it, or
They just have to sit with me and my HR guy and hear us
talk about it. You do that for every
questions.
person?
Yeah, we do that for every person.
You personally?
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
How many people work at the company right now?
We got almost 40.
40 people. Okay,
Yeah.
so you still like lean and mean.
Yeah, we're still lean and mean.
That's
for sure.
cool. Is there going to be a time like you think that's going to have to increase? If it's a product-driven company, like how does that work? Like, do you have to go to 80 to 100 people in the next 3 years, or no?
Maybe, but it doesn't grow exponentially because all of your cash goes in inventory still and like other things.
Right.
And the leaner we can keep it, the quicker and less bureaucratic we believe we can be. So it's that balance of staying lean, but then of course, and we struggle with it, right? Like, oh shit, we should have hired somebody over in that department 3 months ago, but because we're lean bootstrappers, those people got a little too, hard worked, but then we brought in somebody, and like, we'd rather do that versus have too many people. And so we always tell people, like, even in a downturn, we're not laying anybody off. Even if sales took a downturn, because like we're just not set up to need to do that.
Right.
But
you're cash flow efficient.
Right.
You guys, and you have a lot of reserves as well.
Yep.
So you can make a promise to yourself and your employees that never has to come to that.
Yeah.
Tech companies with crazy growth, blitz scaling, and they're burning through cash don't have that luxury all the time.
No, they kind of play the people game up and down.
Yeah. Right. And by the way, I'm going to open up to questions about 5 minutes. So if anyone has a question, start thinking about it. Are you B2B or B2C only? I know you're B2C, obviously, but are you B2B too? Because you have to sell to the retailers in order to allow you to sell to B2C, right?
Right.
But is there any B2B plays besides that?
True B2B, like we have some business through like Grainger or something like that, where like Grainger will sell it to big warehouses and they'll keep it in their bathrooms and stuff like that.
Okay.
But most of our revenue comes through the major blue chip companies: Walmart, Target, Sam's Club, Amazon. Like, we sell wholesale to these people and they distribute.
Okay. Have you ever thought about diversifying your product? Is there like another dude something?
Yeah. And we have.
And how is that going versus Dude Wipes though?
We did some stuff kind of in like 2018, 2019, where we started also making male grooming products. So like Dude deodorant and Dude soap.
Okay.
Because a lot of people were saying, well, why don't you guys do more?
Like Axe, but you're going against Axe now.
Yeah, going against Axe and Old Spice now. And we realized the pandemic was what kind of made us repivot and refocus, because everyone was out of toilet paper, and then everyone wanted as many Dude Wipes as we could make over the course of one weekend. We were like, holy shit, and so we just started producing as many as we can. And we kind of came to this realization, is like, we have such a big opportunity from the day one apartment idea of Dude Wipes. We still think we have a big opportunity, and we've started to divert our energy elsewhere and our capital elsewhere and fight like a war with Old Spice. Like, I'm probably busy enough fighting a war with toilet paper. I could do that for the next 10 years and just keep taking market share.
Keep doing it, yeah.
So we realized the best brands stay focused, and they mean like only one thing to the consumer. Like Coca-Cola launched an energy drink, it flopped. Red Bull launched a cola, it flopped.
Right.
Red Bull's energy, Coke's cola. You know, Dude Wipes is an ass wipes brand. And that's how we're going to build it. And when we got unfocused and tried to say it could be these other things, we quickly realized it was a bad idea. So we haven't done anything like it since. Now, maybe in the future, we could try something again. Like, I'll never say never, but as long as I keep seeing the growth in the current business plan, that's another thing with managing a team. When you give your team one goal, they're not confused.
For sure.
You know, they're like,
they know exactly what to do.
This is the goal. Grow Dude Wipes. Think about every different way to do it. All of those things.
Yeah.
And so that has really helped.
I like that. I like that strategy. Like laser focus, heads down, and just kill it and crush it with the current product.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like saving the world one ass at a time. I feel like that should be a tagline.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, I have one more just rapid fire round question for you. So I'm just going to ask you something, and like, what is your favorite color? And you just say one word answers.
Okay.
Cool.
Got it.
Favorite rapper of all time?
Lil Wayne.
Me too.
Oh,
it's crazy
nice.
you say that. I like him since 1996.
Wow.
With the Hot Boys back in the day.
Yeah.
Your favorite fast food restaurant?
McDonald's.
Your favorite nicer restaurant? And I'm guessing it's going to be in Chicago. So
Chicago Cut.
Really?
Yeah.
What your favorite type of meat? Steak?
Steak.
Okay. Where and how often do you go get a haircut?
Every 3 months.
How long have you been growing it?
Since Shark Tank. I had short hair on Shark Tank.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember seeing it was like a little bit of your hair.
Yeah.
What was your favorite festival you ever been to?
North Coast Festival 2012.
Me too. Crazy you're saying this.
And we had a Dude Wipes booth there.
I don't remember that.
It was the first time we ever spent any money being somewhere. And so we had a Dude Wipes table and we were handing out Dude Wipes.
How much was that booth?
$5,000.
Jeff Callahan charged you $5,000 for that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna send this to him after.
Yeah. And it's funny, we're always like, when we look back on it, we're like, we didn't have $5,000, like, but we had a blast.
You had a good time.
And we handed out a ton of product. And it actually, people will still bring it up to this day. I'm like, so maybe it was worth it. Like, that was 12 years ago.
Maybe.
People be like, yeah.
What is your favorite brand besides Dude Wipes, obviously, that you use pretty often that you just couldn't live without? It can be software, it can be a product. Like, what do you just think about, like your weekly life? What do you use a lot that you couldn't live without?
Definitely Apple. You know, big Apple fan from everything like the MacBook and the AirPods. Like, they really help unlock creativity, especially when you're an entrepreneur. Like, you know, I was running this business off of a MacBook in a coffee shop.
For sure.
For years, and kind of like that tool allowed me to do a lot of things.
Favorite hobby?
Favorite hobby? Soccer.
Your soccer guy?
Yeah, get around and play some soccer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Favorite city to travel to?
San Diego.
I could have told you that. I even need to ask you that question, actually. I should be like, your favorite city is San Diego. Next. Okay, last question. Your favorite animal? Like if it's a dog, a cat, a dolphin, a lion, what is your favorite animal and why?
Yeah, I'll have to go with my dog Mango. Golden Doodle.
Is he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
is he hyper?
Dog. He's a little hyper, but he's like 7 now.
He's calming down a bit. Yeah, kind of like us.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's open it up to a few questions. Who's got one? We'll go here, here, and then here.
I think, your unique style and your authenticity, you definitely have to stay true to that. And if someone is like completely opposed of it or just like really rubs you the wrong way, you just got to get away from them. That's just like toxic energy, you know? But at the same time, people who think differently than you provide a lot of benefits. So like if I'm like more like creative, free thinking guy, but I'm working with someone who's like conservative planner and stuff, we actually can create a lot of magic together. There's going to be a little friction in there, a little bit of feedback on like, well, you know, can we get it organized like that? So like, I think it's about like the intention and the way that they're communicating, that you think it's coming from like a good spot, and understanding there's power in the ways different people think, but then just having the zero tolerance for the toxic bullshit. And just like rid that out, but being open-minded about, you know, people who think differently than you. Yes, I have, and we launched. Talk about another launch, the Dude Wiper 1000 in 2020, which was a bidet attachment for your toilet. So we had one of those products out on the market for a little bit, and we just kind of found like there's only a certain amount of Americans who are willing to do the bidet thing.
Yeah, you go to Europe with that though.
It's still very culturally just like a niche here. Yeah, our wipes are flushable, so that's our big thing. Like where a baby wipe you can't put in the toilet. Dude wipes, and there's some other wipes like them. Like I don't have a patent on flushable wipes, you know? And then we make them bigger, you know, so like extra large is our thing. And then we have all these cool scents and features that continue to come out. So always innovating on product. Obviously brand's a big part of it. Then the brand wraps around it and gives more of that like emotional pull. Manufacturing, yes, we do it in the US mostly. I've had more problems as of late as the numbers have gotten bigger than I did earlier on. Like earlier on, if I'm going from making 1 million packs of wipes a year to like 3, a manufacturer's usually like, yeah, I got you, you know, run the machine more. But when I'm like, hey, I'm going from 50 million packs of wipes to 80 next year, they're like, hey, like I got to plan that out. I got to buy a new machine. And so the later stages of our growth have been way more communicating what the next couple years look like and having those conversations like, hey, do you think we're gonna have a problem in 2027 when we hit this number? Okay, do you need some capital to go buy some machines? Like, so early on you can scale it, and then later on you have to have those tighter projection combos.
Do the profit margins get better in your industry as time goes on? Like from the $1 to $10 million mark?
Yes, for sure.
Okay, dropping by like 5-10%, would you say?
Probably like 10% in those early days. And then you start to reach some scale where like 50 to 100, they like don't move that much.
That's what I'm saying. Like at some point it just kind of stays stagnant.
Yeah, but in those early days, you're getting like the highest pricing because you're the smallest runs on these machines. So you do want to know from your manufacturers, when I make bigger runs, what is it going to cost? Because then you can kind of like, you could price your product a little bit more competitively, knowing, like when I went into Walmart, I had to price it with a lower margin I was comfortable for, knowing that if Walmart said yes, I was going to get all this value and go get a lower price and bring my margin up. But if I went in with my current margins, they might have been like, this is too expensive.
Yeah.
So yeah, sometimes you got to play those games. Yeah. I think just putting yourself out there in the right situations is like, that's what you have to find. And our first big one was when we put Dude Wipes on a UFC fighter's ass. And so we literally sponsored this guy's ass and put our logo on his shorts. And we were like, man, we think this is funny. Like it costs a little bit of money. But then when he went on, it was a pay-per-view fight, like the internet exploded and it was like trending on Twitter. It was such a big, it was our first big viral moment. And that's when we realized in order for things to go viral, you need that like cool little combination. And that was our first aha moment. Like our logo on someone's ass was just disruptive enough to all the other logos puked all over the place that it was the one people were talking about.
That's fucking funny.
Yes, we have. Right now, we're really just trying to like make sure we keep up with velocity, so keep up with the growth. Then that would create more like profit, right? So we're just super focused on that for now. I could see in like 5 years then starting to be like, okay, growth is starting to slow. Let's harvest the bottom line right now. But we're focused on growth, and it's almost like that tech play. Like we want market share. We want to be the brand name. And if we start the vertical integration, it'll take a lot of resources and focus away from just being the brand. But at some point, a business does mature where you need to like take a more serious look at it. We don't think we're there yet, kind of deal. Yeah.
This dude is laser focused.
Yeah.
Laser focused. Like anything is just like, no, yes. It's like, last question, please make it quick.
I was at ISU at a freshman orientation, and we bought a little table, and we were handing out some wipes and to the freshmen coming in, and then a guy from a frat came over, who was like the president of the frat, and he had the frat's checkbook, and he wrote us a check for $500 worth of dude wipes.
Ooh.
And it was all the dude wipes we had in the trunk. It paid for the hotel. It was like, wow. It was the most somebody, we were only like a month into the business,
Yeah.
and someone cut us a check for all the dude wipes we brought up.
You're
to
like,
this
happy
event.
hours on me. Let's go.
Yeah.
$500 check right here.
Like, all right, we're on to
That's a lot of
something.
beers.
You know
Like
what I mean?
25 cents back then.
Yeah, a lot of beers
quarter
at the pub,
all right, on that note, let's give him a round of applause for being here today. Sean Riley.